What's the big deal about beef tallow? A lot of people are talking about it. I'm glad we got your attention. Beef tallow, for the amount of beef that the country creates and consumes, has always been a very ubiquitous and heavily used cooking fat up until the recent era, I should say, when it was replaced by plant-based alternatives, and by that I just mean seed oils, vegetable oils, and shortenings. Um, those took its place in food service setting, and beef tallow as the frying fat for your average restaurant was replaced. Um, it's kind of come full circle to the point where people are starting to cue into the differences of beef tallow versus other cooking fats, because quite simply it's less refined. It's just a more nutritious and a better way to cook. There isn't really a strong argument against cooking with animal fats. As a chef, I can tell you that I have used all of my fats. I always used every of the fats, all of them. One of my favorite things growing up was bacon grease. We used to keep the coffee can on top of the stove, and the bacon grease would go in it when you were done, and then you would use that to fry the eggs for the next morning's breakfast. And the idea of cooking with animal fats is just as old as time, basically. There are even particular breeds of animals that are raised specifically for their fat value or lard value, like the Michon pig is a lard pig. Like there's certain selective breeding that's even been done to make animal fats more usable for us as the consumer. So with beef tallow, I think it's just real good and quick and easy to get across. Beef tallow is just beef. It's one ingredient. There's no other ingredients. That's every one of the ingredients. It's beef. Every piece of beef that you've ever eaten, even the leanest cuts of beef, contain beef tallow. You've eaten beef tallow every time that you've eaten beef. The way that it's getting used today, I think, is wonderful because of the fact that I think people are actually appreciating the fact that they're doing something that's good. And I think that they're also realizing that animal fats are flavorful. And if you're roasting potatoes with beef tallow, they're going to taste good. Please understand that butter and beef tallow fundamentally are not that different. They're from the same animal. And so, those are things that we've learned, that, oftentimes that butter can even be replaced by tallow in baking. We started doing that with our cornbread recently, where we liked the idea that the cornbread had a buttery flavor, and we found that we actually liked it better when it had a more savory flavor. So we used the beef tallow for that, and that's just a great example of us being resourceful. Because of the amount of brisket we trim, we generate a tremendous amount of beef tallow, and we've done so many different things with it, and some of them are creative, some of them not so creative. We have soap for sale that the soap dudes pick up beef tallow from Tropical, make it into designer soap, and we sell that. We've made beard balms, we've made candles. We've really had a lot of fun playing with, kind of the historical uses of beef tallow. But most importantly, we use it for cooking in ways that, we feel like it actually elevates what we're doing, and that we can also recuperate all of this valuable trim from our butchery operation, because we fabricate so many hundreds or thousands of pounds of brisket in particular every week. We're basically generating a nonstop, flow of beef tallow. So that's, just the economy of brisket, and kind of like what you get that isn't sliced brisket, still you paid the same amount for to bring it in the back door of the restaurant. So you have to understand that there is, a benefit to recouping and repurposing all of that trim. So if it's lean trim, it gets ground into burgers or sausage. If it's fat, it's going to also get ground and it's going to get put in the oven overnight and rendered fully and strained and become a beautiful, clean beef tallow that we can use for a lot of different things. We can use it for wrapping. We wrap our brisket with butcher paper and beef tallow. Some people find that they like that. Some people use things like vinegar when they wrap, but for me, I like the idea that I can lay down my butcher paper and actually oil the paper, or tallow the paper, I should say. And that's going to make it actually easier to manage, and it's going to make it a little bit less permeable to keep that moisture inside of the brisket for the last leg of the cook. To make beef tallow, there's plenty of videos on how to, but basically the important thing is that there's a couple different phases of it. The first is the actual rendering phase, where the solid animal fat is going to exude its liquid fat as it is warmed. That's the first step. And then the second step is we'll call it the clarification of it, which is basically we're going to elevate the temperature until all of the proteins and particulate matter actually will begin to brown and coagulate and be able to they call it flocculate, to be able to drop out of solution. So we're going to get that tallow hot enough that that's going to occur, and it's going to clarify and kind of become a little bit cleaner looking. When you raise the heat on that last step, it'll actually start to make like a little bit of like a brown kind of a scum on top. If you were making a chicken stock, you would just skim that off and throw it away. Same thing with beef tallow, except we usually use a fryer filter to clean ours up. It's very easy and efficient that way. But yeah, I think, like beef tallow is not going to replace your fine finishing oils, your extra virgin oils and things like that. But it can certainly replace, in most instances, all of your low grade seed oils. And a lot of those don't taste good, guys. Like, you need a good, clean, neutral oil like grapeseed to make a vinaigrette so that you can dress a salad. But the oils that you're seeing in bulk, generally, they don't really bring a lot to the table in terms of like adding to your food, adding to your food's flavor and your food's complexity. So, just being able to use something that is actually tasty, that's just like one of the little ways that we make food better. And I think that, if you're doing any trimming at home, like if you want to cut your own brisket at home, take all of the fat scraps, chop them as small as you can tolerate, chopping them by hand, put them in a metal container, cover with foil, and just put it on the backside of your smoker while you're smoking your brisket, and it'll fully render that tallow. You'll just need to strain it out and go from there. Hope you enjoy.